Dear ICN members, dear colleagues, bienvenidos a Barcelona. Welcome to the vibrant city of Barcelona. I feel privileged to be here opening this international gathering in my country, in Spain. Finally, the time has come for the CNMC to host the annual conference. I am honored to welcome you all at this magnificent and unique building, the Llotja de Mar. The original building, the Gothic hub where we are now standing, was constructed in the 13th century. It was the trading floor for the merchants in the maritime area. It was constructed in the 13th century when Barcelona placed itself as one of the foremost trading cities in the Mediterranean. Its development stimulated the creation of different institutions designed to legitimize the growing power of the merchant class and to foster and regulate economic activity. I would say that if it were not for the Chicago Board of Trade exemption, this would have been a clear cartel. Today, 8 centuries later, the International Competition Network convened its members and non-governmental experts from around the globe to foster procedural and substantive convergence and cooperation in antitrust. This strong convening power stems from the solid conviction that competition plays a crucial role in improving productivity and prospects for growth. Maybe this is why the two beautiful sculptures that you can see at the beginning of the stairs around the stunning Renaissance stairs that you have there at the courtyard are industry and commerce. The figure on industry carries a scepter with one hand at the top, a symbol of power and status. And at her feet, there is a hive of bees, which represents industrious and continuous work. The image of commerce holds the horn of plenty in one hand, and at the feet, you can see a lion, which symbolizes vigilance. Constant work and vigilance, precisely the two common features among ICN members. This edition has attracted lots of attention from the international community, and this is being reflected in the numbers. We have around 100 jurisdictions present in Barcelona and more than 420 attendees. This is going to be making lively discussions in the meetings. As a host agency, a big thank you to you all for joining us in Barcelona, and also my warmest greetings to those following us online. I would like to briefly highlight the presence this year at the conference of the Paraguayan National Competition Commission and the ECOWAS Regional Competition Authority, who both have recently joined the ICN. Our warmest welcome to this big competition family. I'm glad to see that our competition family grows and that more agencies are committed with international cooperation and promotion of competition values. This is also the first time for us. It is the very first time that the ICN Annual Conference is being held in Spain. Hosting the annual conference this year means an outright reward for the intense international activity and commitment of the CNMC. Since I took office back in 2020, one of the top priorities of my team has always been to maintain and reinforce the presence of the CNMC at the international stage, and in particular at the ICN, as a unique forum worldwide in the field of competition. I am grateful for the opportunity, Andreas, thank you very much, that this conference and the ICN network repeatedly gives us to exchange experiences and best practices. I also would like to thank Andreas' team at the ICN Chair Conference. From the onset of this candidacy to hold the annual conference, I was conscious and aware of the responsibility that this conference entails, very high expectations, and rightly so. Accordingly, my team has worked very hard for the last few months, having this conference as a pressing and pivotal priority to ensure that Barcelona becomes a huge success, and I promise that these days ahead will not leave anybody unmoved. In this sense, I would like to give credit to the efforts and continuous support of the ICN Secretariat and the annual conference planning team, who are sitting all around, thank you so much, that have been assisting with the organization of the conference throughout the whole process and the design of the agenda. I would also like to tell all new candidates that will step up for annual conferences. They make the task much easier. We have been supported in every step of the journey. It commenced a while ago with the designation of a Spanish CNMC as the conference goes, 1.5 years ago. And then I have to also give a word of recognition to the working groups and their co-chairs who have been pouring their hearts into the configuration and preparation of the sessions, the content. They have thrived to prepare vivid and dynamic sessions with an incomparable lineup of speakers and letting a space for debate where we can all benefit. This is not always easy. Preparing such a thing, also for the working group coordinators, takes away much time of their usual tasks. But in reality, you are the soul of the ICN. Thank you for your hard work. It is really worthwhile. Going down into the substantive sessions that are awaiting you, I am excited to comment on the great agenda that will be unfolding in the following days. Many topics and inspiring speakers: digital, sustainability, data, regulation, new detection tools, all the spectrum in just 3 days. But let's start from the beginning. Our host panel, judicial review. Judicial review is always in the headlines. But regardless of this fact, the truth is that courts and enforcers participate in an ever-ongoing process of learning from each other. The review and the fine-tuning of the decisions and subsequent judicial review makes us better. This is why, as host agency, the CNMC proposes to explore the role of courts in antitrust law and how to develop a mutually beneficial interaction. While recognizing that the relationship between the judiciary and competition authorities is not always easy and controversial, the dialogue of this specific topic builds better understanding and convergence on how to address the new challenges that we all face. On the other hand, alongside all the topics included by the ICN working groups, the CNMC as hosting agency has decided to include a breakout session that will be exclusively held in Spanish, reflecting the diversity and inclusiveness of the ICN. I treasure our shared cultural background that is also reflected on the similarities between our legal systems. Though there is a great diversity among our authorities with different perspectives and approaches to safeguard competition on the market, we believe that there is always a common root, and this is something extremely enriching. The Spanish language has always served as a powerful tool, enabling us to communicate, connect, boost cooperation in the Ibero-American sphere. I invite you all, not only Spanish native speakers, but also Spanish speakers, that are many among us, to participate in this section and to enrich the discussion. With this session, we try to bring the debate on new technologies and its challenges to the reality of the Ibero-American jurisdiction. The title is Nuevas tecnologías y su aplicación en las investigaciones de competencia. The rapidly evolving technologies nowadays produce a turmoil in the competition domain in 2 different dimensions that will be considered. The first one is how competition authorities can adapt to these technologies, artificial intelligence, data-based mining, machine learning, algorithms, and incorporate new tools to detect anti-competitive practices. The second one will deal with the way companies are using these newly developed technologies to collude to restrict competition, and how authorities can revisit our toolkit and procedures to grapple this. This session complements others organized by the ICN Vice Chair and working groups on digital. We are facing a disruption from the development of digital tools and the appearance of artificial intelligence, and only by promoting sound competition enforcement in this area will ensure that digitalization is good for all. What would I like this conference to achieve? On a personal note, I hope that this meeting fosters an environment where we can learn from one another, challenge our perspectives in order to improve, and collectively contribute to the advancement of competition law and policy for the benefit of consumers and society. The network, our network, is a leading model for international cooperation, and this will become, once again, I guess, visible and evident in the sessions and meetings that will take place here in the Llotja del Mar. The CNMC is profoundly committed to the values of international cooperation and assistance. The International Cooperation Network represents and defends these values. We share this our shared goal and conviction to protect competition on the markets, not only in itself, but also because it leads to noteworthy improvements in economic growth, productivity, and the well-being of consumers. In a nutshell, our actions, our work, contribute to shape the field in which economic activity plays and has a very positive impact in our societies. For the CNMC, there was a time when commitment, and I say this particular to the youngest agencies, there was a time when commitment to the ICN seemed too much to be able to effectively contribute. Over the years, we learned, and we have been co-chairs in the merger working group. We are currently co-chairs in the unilateral working group and in the membership team. What we have learned is that commitment builds experience and enrichment. The organization of the annual conference in Spain is another step along this way. My wish would be that younger agencies with less resources start thinking that they can commit themselves to the ICN network. There are plenty and diverse opportunities to do so. All in all, ours is a huge responsibility, ours as competition enforcers, with new challenges: globalization, the greater interconnection between economies, opening up to trade. This has meant an increase in the number of cross-border transactions that need to be addressed in close cooperation between the authorities involved. Without an efficient, fluent, and well-timed cooperation, we risk downgrading our actions. There is a patent risk of weaker enforcement and potentially harmful consequences for competition, consumers, and businesses. Also, we share the challenges ahead for the competition authorities, such as the digital transformation, sustainability, and competition, new technologies that can be used to collude, as I was mentioning. We need to be united and develop a common strategy to tackle the challenges that have a multi-jurisdictional dimension, and we can benefit from the experience and success of the other agencies in confronting the contemporary challenges in our own countries and markets. As you have seen, the agenda of the annual conference in Barcelona has been carefully designed to touch on the most interesting topics in the competition domain during these intense 3 days. Networking plays a pivotal role on this conference, acting as the connective tissue that fosters mutual trust and bolsters cooperation within the competitive field. Through compelling discussions, ideas, innovations, and expertise intersecting, the exchange of knowledge and best practices contribute to consolidate the relationship among us so that we form the bedrock upon which progress is built. Barcelona, as the host city, is poised to serve as a catalyst for cooperation. I really hope that you can make the most of these 3 days and that you can also enjoy the city and the networking events that we have prepared for you. This building, Llotja del Mar, is an example of how different perspectives and contributions improve the result. The Gothic, Renaissance, and Neoclassic styles make the most of this building. ICN members and NGA experts from around the world are here to spend 3 days leading the discussion on competition and enforcement in the new digital era. I wish you very fruitful discussions, successful initiatives, and future collaborations, and surely also delightful memories of Barcelona. Let me please hand over to Andreas Mundt, ICN Chair.
What a crowd. Great. Presidente Cani Fernández, estimada Cani, Commissioner Reinders, Estimados colegas de todo el mundo, bienvenido a la conferencia anual de la ICN en Barcelona. Me alegro mucho de que tantos miembros de la familia ICN hayan venido aquí. Agradezco a la CNMC, a su presidente Cani Fernández y al personal de la CNMC, which means that the hardest part of my speech is over. And I'm very happy to switch to English now. Dear colleagues, dear non-governmental advisors, dear ICN community, welcome to the 22nd ICN Annual Conference here in the beautiful city of Barcelona. All my thanks this year go to Cani Fernández. Looking back to last year at the ICN conference in Berlin, where we wanted to announce the host of the next annual conference, I can tell you that even 1 week before the conference, I didn't have a host yet for this year. I had so many phone calls around the world asking people if they wanted to host this conference. And then last but not least, I called Cani. We talked about ICN, we talked about ICN matters, and then we came to the core of the call, the conference. And Cani said, give me 1 week, I'll check. And this is why we are here today. And Cani, I can only say, I was very relieved that you did that, but you did not do a personal favor to me. But you did a great favor to the ICN community in general and on a whole, that you jumped in at a time when COVID-19 still had everything under control. And it was pretty unsure if we could meet eye to eye in person here in Barcelona. So again, a great thanks to you, Cani, that you have organized this. That was a great step. What would you like to see the ICN achieve in 10 years? That was the first question when we did the ICN third decade survey at the beginning of the 10th decade of the existence of the ICN. And in a way, exactly this question reflects very much what the ICN is about. It is forward-looking, the next 10 years, and it is member-driven because it asks the members what they want to achieve in the ICN. And we got an overwhelming response that was very much concentrated on 2 topics. That was participation of the members and inclusion. There was something like a leitmotif throughout the whole third decade exercise that we did. And I'm very happy that this was so because it meets very much with my personal aims for the ICN since my takeover of the ICN chairmanship 10 years ago. And I think it's fair to say that we have achieved a lot as ICN with regard to inclusion and participation. In terms of topics and in terms of participation, we are on a good path to achieve exactly those goals. It starts, by the way, with the ICN Annual Conference here in Barcelona. The ICN Annual Conference is the pinnacle of the ICN year, and I'm very proud to say that this year we have representatives and non-governmental advisors from more than 100 jurisdictions around the world. So, Cani, already in this sense, you are a new record holder because there was no other ICN conference where we had so many jurisdictions in one room at the same time. Maybe this is even topping UNCTAD. I'm not sure, but this makes me very proud. This is why I said, what a crowd to have so many people from various parts of the world in this room. We had a fantastic participation in ICN events over the last year. the cartel workshop in New Zealand, the unilateral conduct workshop in Japan, the chief and senior economist workshop in Norway, not to mention various webinars, town hall meetings that we have held over the year. And we have also established new fora in the ICN to allow for a more, light-handed participation in the ICN, also as a result of the Third Decade project. One new forum is the Open ICN program. It's a new communication channel. More than 100 members of the ICN took part in the new annual ICN check-in that invites direct feedback on ICN activities, new channels, new fora. We are not a closed shop. We are an open society. We're open to every member of the ICN. We bring together young agencies, mature agencies, very different legal traditions, very different sizes of agencies, and very different setups of economies and cultures. And I think we're not only diverse in terms of membership, we are also diverse in terms of topics that we cover. Last year's work products include new advocacy toolkits on international cooperation. We have done an agency effectiveness paper, How to Deal with Times of Crisis, which stands for our reaction as competition agencies if a crisis arises. You find a paper on the assessment of dominance in digital markets by the Unilateral Conduct Working Group, and there's much more to come after the conference that will be prepared here at this conference, a revision of the recommended practices on entry and expansion and on crisis cartels. Inclusiveness in terms of topics also means that we turn to the future, that we turn to new topics that arise. The economy is moving fast. We are competition agencies, which means we have to keep pace with the economy, which is of utmost importance. And this is especially true for digital markets. And especially here, the economy is moving very fast. Many of us have had great cases in the past in digital markets. What we must admit, dominance remains, ecosystems still remain, and there's a growing consensus around the world that more enforcement is needed. And this is especially true probably for the next big thing, artificial intelligence, which is a new technique that will be driving forward digitalization, and that means that it also will drive forward us as competition agencies in dealing with these matters. I think the ICN is extremely well placed to do more work on this issue of artificial intelligence. We have a head of agency session on this here at the conference, but we will do more work on this. We will also do more work on the question of sustainability, a crucial question for mankind, and we make sure that sustainability and competition go hand in hand. We also created a new project on food, agriculture, and competition. That is a very important topic in some parts of the world, the rising price for food and agriculture products. And I think it is of utmost importance that we as the ICN, as a global organization, look at this. The ICN is about competition all the time. And competition agencies are not political bodies. But of course, we are all aware that our work is embedded in policy. It is embedded in competition policy, and it is embedded in economic policy, and it is, of course, embedded in all kinds of policy. And we are very much aware of the geopolitical shifts that we see around the world. we are aware of the fact that this is driving countries and continents for the time being apart instead of bringing them together. We had to deal in the ICN with the Russian attack on Ukraine. We see certain agencies around the world subject to political changes to the point of political pressure, to the extent of a change in agency leadership. So it is not only politicians that have to deal with these kind of crises, it is also competition agencies that have to deal with it. And this is why we set up the ICN Steering Group Statement on the role of competition and competition policy in times of economic crisis in October 22. And especially these days, maybe even this week, we are here in Barcelona, are critical. We all have these horrible pictures in mind that we see for the time being in Israel, in Gaza. And one can come to the idea that competition maybe is not the most important issue on earth. And compared to these pictures where people lose their lives, that is true. Competition is not the most important issue on earth. But another thing is also for sure. One day we need to come out of this crisis. And I think that is again our task then to make sure that competition, if you want to come out of any crisis, is part of the solution, that competition will be a priority and is a component of any response to any crisis. Because we must always be aware that in terms of economics, nothing can do for mankind what competition on the merits does: foster wealth, innovation, and equal chance for everyone, and in the very end also fair distribution. And unfair distribution is key for many political and economic crises that we see around the world. And this is exactly what this conference is about. So it is good that we meet here in these critical times, in these times of crisis, and raise our voice. There will be other times, and then competition will be needed. Again, this is what this conference is about, Cani, and we are very happy that we are here in Barcelona these days to discuss these things. Thank you very much. I wish for all of us a wonderful conference.